Toronto is one of the most diverse cities in the world. It's a cultural mosaic, the perfect host for the 2015 Pan Am Games. Tonight, it officially begins. The universal language of sport, bringing the Pan Am world together as one.
Oh, 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 yeah. It's true, there is no obstacle. We are unstoppable, no power can divide. One foot in front of the other, one hand in another, the miracle of one. Strong we walk together, together we can sing much louder, louder than any voice alone. With the strength of 1,000 soldiers, we can climb any mountain higher, 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 higher. Stand up together, put your hands up, you're not alone. Together we are one. Sing with me to the rhythm of your heartbeat, you're not alone. Together we are one.
The voice of Serena Ryder, and together we are one, Canada's largest city, and tonight it's on the threshold of the biggest sporting event in the country's history. Look, there's the Pan Am Dome, home to the Americas tonight, the New World, North, South, Central America, and the Caribbean. Thousands gather in record numbers for what will be the most populated Pan American Games on the books. Welcome inside the Dome. Hi, everybody, and here we are for Canada's Pan American Games, the 17th edition. Scott Russell along with Peter Mansbridge, the chief correspondent of CBC News and The National. Great to work with you. Let me
Scott.
Yeah, let me throw some numbers at you. 6,200 athletes, 41 countries, 36 sports, huge games. And for Toronto, a long time in the making, 6 years.
6 years in the making, and 6 years of listening to a lot of the critics say, you know, Toronto can't deliver. They won't deliver on these games. People aren't that interested. New York Times yesterday, a headline suggesting that Toronto was seeing the games land with a thud. Well, not tonight. I got a lot of respect for the New York Times, but I think they're wrong, at least by judging tonight. You've got a stadium, the Pan Am Dome it's called here, not Rogers Centre tonight, the Pan Am Dome, 45,000, it's sold out, and they're flipping tickets outside with scalpers at $250 a pop. Tonight, at least, is definitely a success.
It's all about a journey, isn't it? A journey for the athletes and a journey for the Pan American Sports Organization. Began in 1951 in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The games have been as far south as Mar del Plata, as far north as Winnipeg twice. Mexico, the only country until tonight to host 3 times, and now Canada gets another shot with Toronto.
Well, let's look back. Let's flash back to Winnipeg. 48 years ago, a shiny new flag we had, just 2 years old then. Royalty in attendance with Prince Philip and an anxious crowd happy to welcome the Americas to the middle of our country. Canada finished second in that one. 22 years later, they were back to Winnipeg again for the 13th Pan Am Games. Another huge success, our highest medal total ever, 196, an overall third place finish. The other thing that was proven in Winnipeg, and it's important to remember in light of today, it wasn't just the athletes who performed, it was the city and the province, because what happened in Manitoba was it built facilities that have lasted nearly a half a century. The Pan Am Pool in Winnipeg off Grant Street there, still very much an international site for competition.
And the other legacy, of course, Peter, the iconic stories of sport, and so many great Canadian stars began at the Pan Am Games. Have a look at this.
Vancouver's Helen Stewart was the first Canadian to win a gold medal at the Pan Am Games. The BC swimmer won the 100 freestyle gold, as well as a pair of relay silvers in Mexico City in 1955. 4 years later in Chicago, Ernestine Russell of Windsor, Ontario, was a huge Canadian star. The talented gymnast captured 4 individual gold medals, including the all-around event, as well as 2 silvers. By 1967, Harry Jerome's fabulous track career was winding down. The Prince Albert, Saskatchewan sprinter had equaled the 100-meter world record 7 years prior before winning an Olympic bronze medal in Tokyo in 1964. In Winnipeg, for the 67 Pan Am Games, Jerome ran to 100-meter gold. It was in Puerto Rico in 1979 that Ian Miller rode to the first of 9 Pan Am Games medals, jumping to team silver and individual bronze. He combined with Big Ben in 1987 at Indianapolis for double show jumping gold. 1983's Pan Am breaststroke gold for Anne Ottenbright in Venezuela was a perfect lead-in to her 3-medal Olympic haul in Los Angeles. A relay silver for Donovan Bailey in Cuba at the 1991 Pan Am Games was only the prelude for Olympic and World Championships success. Emily Haymans was right on target in Winnipeg in 1999, capturing platform diving gold, one of 6 Pan Am Games medals. The amazing Clara Hughes added track cycling gold to her resume, winning the points race in 2003 in the Dominican Republic. Following a silver medal at her first Pan Am Games, Rosie McLennan went 1 step higher in Mexico in 2011 to claim trampoline gold. And perhaps the greatest Pan Am legacy goes to Hamilton's Joanne Millar, who was just 15 when she swam at her first Games in Cuba. She made a huge breakthrough 4 years later in Argentina in 1995 when she swept the individual medley events and raced to relay medals as well. All part of 19 lifetime medals in Millar's career in 4 Pan Am Games appearances.
Here are the Canadian results since 1995 in those Mar del Plata Games. High water mark 1999, as Peter mentioned, in Winnipeg, 196 medals. They were second overall at those games by virtue of the number of gold medals they won. And how about third all-time for the Canadians, behind only the United States and Cuba? But here's the story in Toronto, a huge Canadian team to hunt for those medals.
Huge team. And part of the tradition of the Canadian team, and all the teams for that matter from different countries, is during the week leading up to the actual games, is the raising of the national flag. And in Canada's case, of course, our flag being raised inside the athletes' village with all the pomp and ceremony attached to that. And especially interested in watching, of course, Mark Oldershaw, the Canadian athlete who will be the flag bearer tonight. So a little over an hour from now, Mark will be walking into this stadium with the Canadian flag, followed by the Canadian team. A big moment for this champion. And Perdita Felician had a chance to talk with Mark about it.
So Mark Oldershaw, you've had some very special things happen to you in the last few years. Olympic medalist, multiple podiums at World Cups around the world. And a few weeks ago, you married Olympian Anna Mae Pierce, and now you're Canada's flag bearer. Where does this rank among all of those?
I mean, obviously marrying my beautiful wife was number one, but the flag bearer is incredible. I mean, you know, as athletes, it's not something we have on our board, you know, like what we're training for. We're trying to be the best at our sport we can be. So when an honor like this comes along, it just kind of hits you. It's a surprising but a true honor.
And what kind of performance do you need to have on the water at Welland to signify to you that you are on track for the Olympics next summer?
Yeah, I have a really good test. The Brazilian's one of the best in the world, so we're going to have a real showdown out in Welland, and I hope to just battle out hard with him, and hopefully I can get him for the gold. But as long as I have a strong performance, a good race against him, I'll be happy.
Thanks, Mark. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks.
Athletes on their way from the village, Canada last out, the largest Canadian team in history. A crowd is in the house. You're watching TO 2015 and the Pan Am Games on CBC.
CBC's coverage of the Toronto 2015 Pan Am Games is brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads. By Maytag, performance counts. And by Ontario Lottery and Gaming.